Hi, welcome to Empowered Leaders in Tech with me, Sue Parker. In this episode, I really wanted to share an incredibly inspirational and courageous story of a fantastic woman in tech who's now set up her own consultancy. I wanted to share Riona Rooplal's story because it is so encouraging to so many of us. It gives you strength and power when you realize how courageous other people are, how they make their goals work. They find a way to make it happen, even moving to a country that they don't even know how to speak the language or know anyone there. And Riona has examples of how she has done incredible projects, believing that she can, the sink or swim method, whatever you want to call it. I find this story made me feel that I could achieve more, that anyone really, when we set our minds to it and where we're so clear, we have that ultimate clarity on our goal, we get that framework in place, that mindset and that support mechanism, that direction, then we can really make a difference to live a life that we feel is fulfilling and successful to us. So I want you to really enjoy this episode. If you love this podcast, don't forget to be subscribing to it. Plus, it would be fantastic if you could take a screenshot of this episode, share it and tag Riona and myself on LinkedIn and tell us what is your biggest takeaway from this. In the meantime, I'll let you take a listen, and you'll probably want to hit this one on repeat several times because there are so many valuable insights here that we can all take away and lead a better life. So without further ado, I'll jump right in. Hi, welcome to Riona Rooplal. It's a pleasure to have you here today. And Riona is the founder of Ribicology Consulting Services, an MBA candidate, and she's going to share with us her incredible career story. So I invited Riona on because we've been talking and working together for probably, how long has it been? About 6 months now we've known each other for. Yeah. And when I first heard about Riona's career history, I was like, wow, this incredible lady has done so much. This is such a story to share, and I'm very proud to say that she's near the end of her MBA now and doing fantastic, and this consultancy that she started and really in demand, because when you talk to Riona you realize that she knows her stuff. So I thought it'd be a fantastic opportunity to share her career story and inspire other people to do the same things, because this is an incredible story. So thank you for joining us today, Riona.
Oh, thank you, Sue. Thank you so much for having me on. I really do appreciate it.
I think what it'd be really good to start with is that sort of that introduction as to your career journey in your words, not out of my mouth, but in your own words, how you have come from, traveling from one country to another and establishing these amazing jobs that you've achieved, that I just think, wow, that puts to shame some of the work that I've done, some of the small projects in comparison. I just think it'd be really good if you could explain, first of all, to our listeners, a bit about your history, your career journey.
Okay, so let me go back a good couple of years ago. As time goes by, you actually realize how much older you get these days.
We don't talk about that. We don't talk about the grey hairs either, or the wrinkles.
So basically, I started off with my passion in project management. I'm just a natural time scheduler, organizer, all of that put into one. And I love arranging and organizing things. So I thought, well, I'm really good at projects and I love architecture. And this is the built environment side, not the IT side. So I actually started off there. So I studied architecture. I went into a construction project management. And that's where my career started off from. And I was one of those people that got thrown in the deep end, and it's you either sink or swim. And one of my first projects was project managing luxury houses and office buildings. And I got stuck with 22 projects over 2 years. And it was literally sink or swim. And I swam my little butt off and I got there. And it actually built a very good foundation for me from there. And I was able to still use those principles up till today. And it's just amazing where you actually start off, because a lot of the things that you learn along the way is so important, and it's amazing how it sticks with you when you have the time to actually reflect back. So yeah, start off in project management, running construction projects, At that time, I was the very rare female you would find on a construction site. So that was very, very exciting for me because I am the adventurous type. From there, unfortunately, we had the 2008 2009 recession. Construction took a knock. And I just felt that I needed to be in a position where I could work in any sector and not be limited by my selected skills or my current profession. So I then made the decision to actually upskill myself. And then I started working and approached the banks. So I started off in the financial industry, and this is where I made the shift into IT project management. Made sure I went through all the relevant training and so forth. And then also wanted to learn more about business and business operations and strategy because that also is always a fascination for me. So then started doing my undergrad Bachelor of Business Administration. And from there, got that degree and then just carried on working my way through. I always believe that theory can take you so far, but experience just adds so much more value to it. And that's why I decided to just keep studying and working at the same time. It's not easy. I take my hat off to anybody that's doing it right now, especially during these pending times. So a couple of years passed by, ventured into various financial industries, gained more skills, and also then decided to venture into business analysis. And then through that whole journey, I was just, my love for learning just increased along the way. And then, I figured the best thing for me was to actually be a consultant. And then I worked for a consulting company for 5 years. And I got to work on amazing, amazing projects. Got to process engineer, do strategy planning, facilitation, a whole bunch of new and exciting things. And that's what actually got me going. And what I really enjoyed about that is that I've learned so much from it, and the experience has grown so much. And then I decided, well, I actually need to get my master's. So I made the decision to let me do this overseas. I want to marry my love for traveling and then also just to pair it up with my studying. So, and that's brought me out here to my MBA in France.
Sure. Do you know, it might actually be worth saying, so you started off your career in your home country,
South Africa.
South Africa, which is, I just think is incredible. Sorry. And then you decided to move countries, whole countries, to go
Yes.
to go and get your MBA in France. I have to ask, could you speak the language already?
No, I couldn't. But it was part of my bucket list. So, and that's how I actually came to my decision of doing my MBA in France. So I've always had this passion for French and just the French culture and food, and and Europe is just so beautiful. You get to walk everywhere. South Africans would know you have to drive. There's no such thing as walking.
Right.
So I decided to pair my love for travel and another thing on my bucket list and learn French. So I'm like, why not just marry all of that and come and do my MBA out here? And it's a huge risk. It was a huge risk. Still is still a big risk. But sometimes you need to take that risk in life. Otherwise, how can you say you're living your life?
That's very true. Yeah, it's very courageous, but yeah, I completely understand that stepping out is living. Yeah, that's really interesting. And so many of us wouldn't even dream of moving to a country where we couldn't speak the language, to then commit to doing, a postgraduate course of all things in a different language. It's incredible. Do you think there's something about maybe, I don't know, is it the culture in Africa and South Africa, or you as a person that sort of, or your parents, where did that come from? That courage, that spirit of living your life and, being bold and open to these challenges?
I think it's a little bit of everything. I mean, my parents have always been the courageous types. I mean, they haven't been as adventurous as me, but I think they have they left their homes, they moved on at an early age and started their life out in Johannesburg. And there's just certain things and just the way that I was brought up and the people I've come across. I think that's so important because actually everybody you meet will share something about them to you that you'll actually learn and you'll actually treasure and you'll actually move forward with that wisdom that they part with you. So I think for me, it's a little bit of everything and just my personality. I'm always looking for the next adventure. I can never sit still. So, and once I get my goal, and I'm also very goal driven. So once I obtain my goals, I'm always looking for the next one. And I don't want to say make it harder, but I like to challenge myself. So if I'm not working towards something, I kind of feel lost.
Sure.
No, that's brilliant. Yeah, I can understand that. So, going back to your goals, where do they come about? How do you manifest a goal?
So for me, I just look at what, I always like think to myself, like, what do I want next? What do I want to achieve? And I'm a person that likes to make lists. I'm one of
Yeah,
those people.
yeah.
Um, and I
Hence
do, I
the
love
hence the
writing as
bucket
well.
list.
Yes, yes. So I normally, make a list. I actually write my 5-year plan, 1-year plan, and I do read a lot of the motivational books. I think those are just amazing. And so yeah, I start off with just noting down, where do I see myself in a year's time? Where do I see myself in 5 years' time? And where do I see myself in 10 years' time? And once I've gotten that ideas down, I actually start breaking it down to see, now what do I need to do in order to achieve that? And then I break it down even further to see what is manageable that I can start doing, like, from tomorrow, kind of thing.
So, could you share your 5-year plan now? What's your 5-year goal?
So my 5-year goal for the next 5 years is to move to the UK or to move to Amsterdam. So I still need to just pick one of those two. It's a bit of a hard choice at this point. But yeah, to settle down, settle down in either the UK or the Netherlands, and start a full-time career out in that end. Um, Hopefully get married, start a family along those lines. And I think I'm finally at the right age now where I feel like I can settle down. I've done exploring, and I think I'm ready for the next chapter.
And you're building your career at an incredible pace now, and with the consultancy work going so well for you, with your MBA close to come to a close. Yeah, it's another chapter of your life, I suppose, another goal checked off almost.
Yes, and it's actually quite sad because I actually just finished my thesis on Sunday. So I've nurtured it.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And yeah, I'm one of those people that can say that I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the thesis and doing the research. And this is another thing. Like, life will throw you things that you least surprised, that you get so surprised by, and you actually learn. You find that there's new passions along the way. So I'm actually starting to write and do more research articles, which I'm busy authoring, and I will be publishing fairly soon. And there is a company that I'll be working for that is going to be publishing some of my articles as well. So it all goes hand in hand, and what you put out there, and the more positivity, that you'll attract all of that.
Absolutely. So, perhaps you'd like to share some of your thesis. What was your thesis about? What was that research that you're so passionate about?
So my thesis is about digital transformation, and I am looking at it from an employee-centric point of view. Not a human, but an employee-centric point of view. And my whole thesis is based on that, because currently we have a lot a lot of papers that you read out there, and a lot of strategies all about technology or customer-centric. And I just feel that it's great. I mean, your customers are key; they're very important. But at the end of the day, your employees are actually more important than your customers. And your employees will either make or break your strategies. I think we need to have a mind shift that if we take better care of our people, our employees, we can go so much further with them, and hand to hand. So
Yeah,
my thesis is basically based on that.
it sounds incredibly interesting. And how did you do some research for that? Because I would
So
imagine it challenging. You
so
like a
based on my
challenge.
yes, so it was challenging. The thing for me is that it's always been at the back of my mind, especially since I come from the consulting industry. I've worked for large organizations where we implement and we do transformations that really have a huge impact on the employee and the customer. And I've just the way that I've seen those projects being implemented, and just how people react to it. I mean, when you say digital transformation, people automatically get scared. They're like, "Oh, we're going to get replaced. Oh, another system is going to replace me." So, and I just think that's the wrong way that we go about it, and the way, I'm going to say, society perceives digital transformation sometimes. It's not a system or an IT software that's going to come and replace your job. It's actually meant to be there as a tool to help you. And I think that's where, we just need to have a mind shift of what digital transformation actually is, and how important the employee is, that can actually make it successful, and stabilize the whole transformation.
Absolutely. It's that a combination of that change curve, isn't there? But also that fear that you're going to automate my role. When the reality is, in my experience, a lot of digital transformation has actually led to the need for more employees, which is kind of counterintuitive, because the whole business case was we're going to be more efficient. But the reality is, because you're then able to produce more and do more, you then need those people. But instead of having them be basically a manual, I don't know, inputter, or somebody who's literally manually handling the process, you're having them then be more analytical. You're having them do higher level skilled thinking, and they actually find that more challenging and rewarding, is my experience of a lot of digital transformation.
No, exactly. And I think you hit the nail on the head there, because that is it. People are looking for challenging work. I mean, if you do a stats on neuroscience and people's happiness in the workplace, it's actually quite frightening, because a lot of people, they actually don't enjoy their jobs. And that's because they're not being stimulated. They're not doing what they enjoy. So the moment you actually sit down, have a discussion with them and find out what are they interested in, you'll actually be flabbergasted by the skill set that's behind that. And you'll actually realize you'll actually get more skills, more information, more inputs, more efficiency out of those employees than you ever thought was possible.
I don't know if I might share this with you afterwards. Actually, there's a piece of research where they basically asked a group of people about motivation, and they were asking them to build models, and I think it was Lego models to begin with, and they gave them the instructions to make the Lego model. And the people that had the instructions found it so easy, they lost interest really quickly, and they didn't value this thing at the end. And then they gave other people an example of what it should look like in the end, but no instructions, and they had to work even harder to find the right pieces to put together to build this finished model that looked like that one. And then what they found is, when they said to those people, do you want to buy the model that you've made, because this was an experience you've been through, the people who'd had the instructions didn't care. They didn't value this item. They thought, this is worthless. You gave me the instructions, I built it. What do I want that? What do I want to pay for it? But the people that didn't have the instructions thought, you know what? I put a lot of effort into that. I value it. And they did a similar study where they gave them origami and had the same scenario, where we're going to show you how to make the origami, you make it, and then we're going to take away the instructions, give you the finished article, and let you figure it out for yourself. And the people that had to work harder, figure it out for themselves, actually valued the end product more. And that goes to show with any of our work, doesn't it? That whole thing about being handed something on a plate, we don't value it. But if we worked hard for it, we value it so much. And, so many of us are lucky to have so many things come to us, that sometimes you need that almost necessity to work hard for something to give you that motivation, that drive, isn't it? I think
it is. And this is what is so fascinating, because it's almost a touch on neuroscience. And I think that's what's actually intrigued me quite a lot with my whole thesis as well, because I dive into it, but I'd like to actually go further, like to conduct further research on this. So, we human beings, we feel things. And, and we need to think. We need to think and solve and figure out how to do things, how to put stuff together, and all of that. And I think the moment you give someone a task where they kind of stop thinking, stop using their brain to think, it actually becomes dull and boring. And so this is where, I talk to my clients and I'm like, this is why, technology must be seen as a tool to enhance their own employees' skills. It's not that the tools are there to replace the employees. And I think with this, it's different mind shift and allowing the employees to actually give their input and actually use their mindset in order to do their tasks. It makes such a big difference. And, with the digital transformation, a lot of people have been saying, well, we got projects that's coming out faster. We have tech teams that's able to produce software systems in a much faster output than what we actually dreamt of. So the timelines have literally been thrown out. And what a lot of people are doing right now, or my clients are doing, is they're just saying, this is my spec. Here, dev team, please produce it. And they are able to produce that faster and quicker than any of the stakeholders had ever expected. And that just goes to show you, if you take away limitations, you'll actually be surprised at how people will go over and beyond your own expectations.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting, definitely. Yeah, no, love the application of neuroscience in business, and the ability to make everybody feel more fulfilled in their work that they do, but also have that, that return on investment, that business case at the side of it is to become more competitive, definitely. So we're kind of diverging a little bit, but it's really interesting stuff. So I could happily talk to you all evening about that. I wanted to just ask you about success, because so many of us think success is this job title, or is this money and status thing. And that's kind of a media portrayed success. You only have to look at some of the success magazines to see that, it's almost as if you need to have £1 billion in the bank. And if you're not a multi-billionaire, the first female multi-billionaire, then you're not as significant as somebody else. But I really would like to know, based on your breadth of experience and your career journey and your life's journey, because you've had one hell of a life journey already, how would you define success?
I think success for me is how I measure myself and not against anybody else, because I am my own person. I know what I did. I know how far I came. I know that the challenges I went through, and nobody else would ever go through the same challenges I do. They would never feel that. And once I've accomplished that, whatever I set my mind out to accomplish that goal, to me, that is pure success. So success could be just, completing my thesis, for example.
Yeah, you consider that a success?
It's a success, because whether I get a good mark or not, that's one point. But for me, it's the fact that I gave it my all. I enjoyed it. I lapped up every moment that I was doing the work, and the outcome is that I worked hard, and like we said, like we've been talking, when you work hard and you put in the effort and you can see the final results, for me, that was so rewarding. So rewarding when I went through the whole thesis and actually read it. So for me, success is that it's like when you can actually sit back and look at what's been accomplished. And sometimes it's a bit hard, because I know people out there, you can't really see some of the things that you worked on. And sometimes you can. So I know, like in the construction, you're like, oh yes, we built that building. I can see it standing tall. And other times where you can say like, okay, well, I put in a system, or I helped somebody, and it's almost like the behind the scenes, but then there's no way to actually physically see it. So those are the times where I think you learn the most important lessons. It's the stuff that no one else can see, but you know. You know how hard you worked for it. You know what challenges you went through, and you made it. And that's how I measure my success. You will feel it in your soul.
No, I love that. Absolutely love that. That whole feeling, appreciative of your own achievements, your own hard work, your own grit. And what would you say, even if it didn't work out? So let's say your thesis goes in, and I know this won't happen, but let's say it comes back with not a great grade, not that, do you still feel that, I put in all that effort, I know I worked really hard on this, I still feel it's an achievement, and I'm happy?
Because I feel life will always throw something at you to help you grow. And as difficult as the situation is, I mean, I've been through a lot, especially this whole COVID thing. I mean, I'm sure everybody has had that moments where you're just like, it's another thing that's gone wrong, and it's been one of those weeks where, everything can go wrong, it will go wrong. And I'm just having a horrible day. I hit my toe when I got out of bed. I was late for school, or the computer crashed, the internet was having problems. But you will have those times. And when it does happen, all you can say is like, I did the best that I can. Given in the state of the situation, that was the best that I could do at that time. And at the end of the day, well, if I didn't get a good mark, at least I know that was the best that I could. And again, you don't compare yourself with other people like, oh, that person got 20% or that one got 90%. It doesn't matter, because they went through their own experience. So for me, just try and find what the lesson is between that. Maybe I didn't read my articles properly. Maybe I made stupid mistakes when I was typing up my thesis. So it's a small little nigglies. You must just go back and see, because if you miss little details, maybe there's something that you're missing in your whole life. Maybe you're not looking at the finer details in your life, and that's why you're always late, or why, you can never find your keys, or you can never find this and that, So you'll never know. Like, don't ever, always take it with a pinch of salt, because life is trying to teach you something, and it will show you in different ways until you learn that lesson, and then you'll move on to the next one.
I love that. Yeah. Failure is not failure. It's teaching you a lesson, and you need to open your eyes to learn that lesson. Yeah. And I think, so many of us can change our perception of failure, really, and perception of things not going well, And the little things you can say, well, don't worry about those, there's nothing you can do about those. But the bigger things, yeah, you want to take on life's lessons, learn something from it, and try again a different way.
Yes.
Yeah. Love it. Fantastic. So what's the future got in store for Riona? What's next?
So right now, I'm trying to grow my consulting company. So I'm going to try and branch out to different countries as well. So looking at setting up base in the UK, London, and then also to set up head office in Amsterdam as well. So the office is already set in South Africa, in Johannesburg. So yeah, looking to branch out and just to grow the intel and just to show the world that us women too can make our mark out there.
Absolutely. And in your consultancy work, what kind of projects are you looking for? Are you wanting to specialize in and move into more?
So currently, just based on the current skill sets that's pending in the company. So there's consulting ranging from project management, business analysis, process engineering. There's also some financial aspects of it, so from a financial controller. Also looking at growing it also from a developer's point of view, giving UXC designers, and so around that whole area. So in fact, to pinpoint an industry, I'm looking at your financial tech industries. This would be a great time just to step into, I'm going to say, the financial industry and see where we can encourage a digital transformation and grow that. But also look at it from an employee's point of view and bring forth the change management the way it should be done.
Yeah. In fact, that's something we didn't really go into much detail about, is it? Because your background, your big projects that you did in the finance sector, I mean, there's a couple of impressive ones on your CV, wasn't there, about the ATM machines that were rolled out? Perhaps you could tell us a bit more about that impressive project.
So when I worked for one of the financial companies, it was one of the large four banks. It was actually the largest bank in South Africa, Standard Bank. So I helped roll out ATM solutions in Africa. So at the time, we implemented a new ATM solution in Zambia. And based on that, it was, so Zambia was used as a pilot, and then the other countries were going to pick it up. So by the end of that project, there was quite a breakdown of how many companies how many branches was going to sign up for that ATM solution. And it was absolutely amazing because we had CR2 technology behind it and quite a few other, the big players out in the banking industry that supported that software as well. So it was amazing. It was an amazing project. Another big project was the MiFID II regulation. And a lot of people in the markets industry would understand that because every couple of months, the years, the new regulations come out and there's new this and that needs due. So MiFID II was a fun project. Thoroughly enjoyed that. Rolled out with Bloomberg and made sure all the different reports was online. And we were actually the one company that was able to trade on the 3rd of January 2018. So very happy with that project. And yeah, and the company, the financial bank out in the UK was able to go, no problems.
And how old were you when you did that first rollout project, that ATM rollout project?
I think so. The Standard Bank one, I was. Oh, now I have to work it out. I was in my 30s, my early 30s. Yeah, I just turned 30.
Such a huge, I find it such a huge undertaking. It's such a huge project, and the travel that was involved, and obviously all the different moving parts, I would imagine, in that particular project that you had to manage. I'm curious, you are one of the most driven people I have spoken to, and I'm curious, what is it you think that drives you?
I think for me is that, if I want something, I will go after it, and I'm a little impatient. Mom will say I'm actually very impatient. I'm going to say a little.
Wow.
So for me, it's just like, if I want something, I will literally go after until I get it. And I think that's what drives me, is just that my impatience. And that's what I actually use. Like my weakness, I turn it into a positivity or a positive effect. So, and I just challenge it into the right areas. So because I'm a very impatient person. I hate waiting. I hate this. I hate, just time, 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 time. So I prefer to actually just put that effort and, that energy into something that's more productive. So this is where I have that drive. So my whole motivation drive comes from my impatience.
Well, no, they do say, that sense of urgency is incredibly important. It's that, it gets you going, it gets that momentum going. And if you've got this sense of urgency, then you will literally get up and do things quite quickly, in the same way that we do when something goes wrong. We all of a sudden find that time, find that money, find that energy to do the thing we need to do. But when it comes to our own goals, quite often we do let them slide. Some people, we let them slide, and we need to have that sense of urgency about what we want to do as well, as much as anything.
Yeah, that's true. And this is where we need to take better care of ourselves, That's why it's called tough love.
Absolutely. In fact, you've brought up my next question, which is so you have a lot going on, and you've obviously moved countries, and it's very easy as an outsider to see that and think that's quite overwhelming. If I was to embrace on a journey like that, an MBA, working, consulting still, and moving countries, trying to, build a life, as well as setting up new offices in new countries, it's quite overwhelming. So I guess, really, how do you make sure you get that balance right, and you still take care and find the time and make the space to look after you?
So that has been a very tough journey. I've learned the hard lessons in order to get to the level that I'm at and to get into the good space that I'm finding in. I've learned that, working yourself to burnout mode is never a good thing. And you'll do it a few times until you learn your lesson. So for me, what I've learned is that I time block. Time block is amazing. So I make sure that I spend a little bit of time on everything. And I actually get more joy out of it that way. So in the mornings, I like to exercise. So that's my time to do my yoga and to work out. And it's just a way for me to center myself. And I really enjoy that. And I would wake up early and actually do that. And then I start off my day, and then, get through my day, get through everything I need to do. And then again, like in the afternoons, this is where I'll see which area of my life my consultancy company needs my time, then or what. And I also plan my day as well. Um, this is my to-do list again.
Yeah.
So I do have a list of what needs to be done, when, and yeah, and it's just actually making one list with everything on it. I think that's also key. So I know what's priority, what's due when. And I mean, we do forget. So that's why it's great just to write it down, put the dates in there. I know what's due when, and off I go.
Absolutely. That's really, it's simple, common sense advice, but how many of us don't do this? One list. So, I would historically have a home list, I would have a work list, I'd have a personal goal, my personal to-do list, the things for the kids' school. You are absolutely right. One list that you manage all your priorities on. And I think one of the other things I just throw in there, and I don't know how you feel about this, but I used to have a notebook for everything. I'd have a notebook for this module, that module, this thing over here. So I'd have like 5 notebooks scattered around the house for different things. And somebody once said to me, always have one notebook on the go at any one point in time. And that has literally changed the way I work. That somebody wants to refer back to something, I just go back chronologically. Oh, back to that section. Yep, in January they said this. Move on, and everything. One notebook at a time. And I now have them in order in my cabinet. If I want to grab one out and go, I know that was from last year. No matter what it was to do with, one notebook. It's simple streamlining, isn't it?
It makes it so much easier because you actually tend to remember a lot more because and it's funny how your brain works because you have one book. As you're writing, you'll make a little doodle that will remind you of something. So when you need to refer back to it, you'll kind of remember the little things that you did in the book and you'll remember other things that led to that. So it's almost like you're leaving yourself a little story to come back to. And I do prefer that one list, one book. It just makes it so much easier.
Yeah.
Try to make life less complicated.
Yeah, oh, definitely. And even to the extent where the book, I can think back to Q4 last year, my book was pink. The month before that it was blue, and almost, that sort of pattern of yeah, the pattern in your mind of I almost know when somebody asks me about a particular project, I almost know which book to go in, just because I can, that touchy feely, that, like you say, the other senses.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, like, don't buy yourself an ugly looking book, just like a normal school book with terrible lines. There's beautiful books out there. And it makes such a big difference. It
It
makes such a
does.
big
It does, and it's a psychological thing, isn't it? It's almost like you do everything with your eyes and all your senses, isn't it? It's like you're eating with all your senses. If your meal looks ugly, you don't like it. If your clothes look ugly, you feel ugly in them. It's the same with everything you work with, isn't it? Fantastic.
exactly.
I would just want to pick up on one more fun gem that you said in there about planning. And I'm curious, I'm always curious about other people's planning techniques. I've got mine. I talk a lot about planning your day ahead, and things like that. So I guess I'd really wonder, how do you do your planning and
So
when?
my planning, so I don't have set days. So I normally just have a list.
Yeah.
Like I said, I put everything onto one list. And then as I get through that list, and I'm just before like it's almost completed, I love scratching it out. Love scratching out all the stuff that I've done. It's like such a sense of an achievement. And then once I've gotten through, there's just a few left, and I start a new one. And the ones that I didn't finish goes on top of that list, and then I carry on and just add it up. So for me, I think I do that more or less like once a week or twice a week, depending how many items I finish and get done. Um, yeah, so for me, it's depending how quickly I get through the list. So
Yeah. 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 But you obviously keep adding to the bottom of it because you've always got your one
yeah,
list.
so
So you
it's a
keep,
constant, it's a
yeah.
constant list that keeps moving. But I like to actually just so I write it out. So on my notebook, actually looking for my last list. Um, actually, oh, here we go. So you can't really see it, but I've got the to-do list here, and I've got two items left. So I need to start a new list, and that's how I do. That's how I go about it.
No,
And
brilliant.
I love using colored pins
Yep.
as an indication of where I'm at as well. So
Yeah. Yeah. And refer to that constantly. Brilliant. I thought, yeah, your advice about time blocks was really valuable as well. I've I've used time blocks for a long time, and I've always tried to touch a task once. But religiously, this last couple of months, I have been making sure that I don't move to another task until it's complete. And that's been quite a game changer, because many of us, we get so far through and we think it's in a good position, it's almost finished, I've got that email that, or somebody's ringing me, or I've got that meeting in half an hour, I'll leave that task there and I'll go and do something else and come back to it. And when you come back to it, you're out of focus, you've got to get back up to speed again, and it takes so much longer to just finish that last 5%, doesn't it? That I thought that the best thing I learned about time blocks is pick your time block, remove all distractions, and try and complete whatever you've committed to complete, whether it's one section, 10 pages of the work, one email, one presentation, whatever it is, try and complete it in that block.
that's true. And I think we also need to be realistic on how fast we work and how much we can get done in an hour or 2 hours.
And break it up.
So yeah, you've got to break it up, and don't put too much of work into one block. That you're aiming to finish, like get through a whole exercise or a whole month end report or something in like one day or something. You need to be realistic with yourself and be realistic at how much you can get done within the time block. So also don't put too much that you won't be able to finish. So always, I think this is a project management thing. Is like always put it in there, but add fat. Add
Yes.
fat to your timeline.
Contingency. Yeah.
Yes, you have
Your
to
20
add your.
yeah, the project manager comes out, yeah, that 20 or 30% contingency that we don't tell anybody else about, but we're putting it in around, padding around everything. Yeah. That's probably the biggest thing when I was project managing, was I would curse if a developer told a client how long something took. I was always like, no, you don't tell the client, you tell me, and I add you some contingency on to buy you time, and then I tell the client. Let me deliver the bad news, but I want to tell them it's going to be quick. No, you don't. We want to over deliver. Brilliant. I guess what would be really fantastic now is to understand, if you were to meet your younger self and hindsight, or if you were to advise the people that are listening, starting out in their careers, or midway through, and perhaps a position where you are, but they're struggling at the moment to sort of take that next big leap. The imposter syndrome sitting in, the fear is there, the pandemic and all the rest of it. What sort of advice would you give them?
I think what I would say to them, and what I would say to my younger self, is that don't stress so much. You will get through it. You will get through it. Just breathe. And it's one of those things that you'll only get when you'll get that same when you actually have done it and you understand what that breathing means. But for me, it's like you stress. I still am quite a worrywart. I do stress quite a lot, but not as bad as I used to be. And if I could say to myself, like, just don't stress, just relax, just take a step back, breathe, clear your mind, literally go sit on the bed or go sit on the sofa and literally just breathe. I think that's the best advice I can give to anybody. In the beginning, it is hard to breathe, especially when the anxiety is kicking in and you're stressed out. But after a couple of days, it will kick in and it will get better. So it gets a little intense, and then you're like, this is not working, but just give it time, just keep at it, and the breathing will kick in and you'll be like, wow, where has this been my whole life?
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, no, it's really great advice, really sound advice. I've actually seen a lot of posts recently as well about breathing. Lewis Howes, I think, was like, he just issued this post on Twitter, and it just said, stop now, take 10 deep breaths. And it is really powerful, isn't it?
It is. And I mean, like, what I normally do is I bring inhale for 5 counts, hold for 2 counts, exhale for 5 counts again. And it's just that simple breathing. And like, the more you just try to listen to your breathing, that's when it just calms your body down. Yeah. Yeah. And we actually don't realize how breathing actually, that's what it does. It literally calms your nervous system down.
I noticed at the beginning you said that you start your day with yoga, and I wonder if some of that practice allows you to feel more balanced, more centered as well.
Yes, no, it does. I mean, I love yoga, and I think that the style that I do as well, it's very heavy breathing, and it really does. And I do thank my yoga teacher, and Sam Roberts out there. She's amazing, absolutely amazing, and just like the way she used to teach the class and the whole breathing while you're working out. And it just makes a big difference. It really does. And I do feel a little niggly when I don't get to do my yoga in the mornings. I do feel like I suffer the rest of the day. I'm like, damn, I didn't get to breathe today.
That sounds like a great habit. Absolutely fantastic habit there. I mean, if it can set you up to do the incredible things that you've done, that determination, that you say it's impatience, but actually the urgency to just get your big goals done, get things done, and really push forward. I think a lot of us can learn a lot from being more that way, and figuring out how do we get ourselves in a really good, resilient mental state to push forward and know that we're trying as hard as we can and we can push through these things.
Yeah, and it takes time. Yeah, it takes time. I mean, so I know a lot of people, you don't just keep getting at it. I mean, like, the first few rounds, it'll be hard just to keep getting the task done. But then just get a little bit done and just keep going. And then eventually you will get there.
Absolutely. Yes, there's 1% incrementals. I think, one of the pieces of advice I used to give was, momentum. Once you've got it, it's easier to keep going. So what we do is we tell ourselves something's going to be really hard, but if you can just promise yourself you'll do it for 1 or 2 minutes, a really small amount of time, you'll find that motivation to say, you know what, I can do it for a minute. I can do a jog for a minute. I can do some exercise for a minute. I can do anything for a minute. It's easy. And then the tendency then is to keep going. It's that momentum thing kicks in about something that you've been procrastinating about and find really difficult. It's really, really sound advice, Riona. Brilliant. Well, that's been absolutely incredible. If anybody would like to connect with you, how can they connect with you and learn more about your career journey and your consultancy as you grow?
Okay, so it's Riona Rooplal, and you'll be able to find me on LinkedIn.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing your career story with us tonight. It's been fantastic. And I think this is one that the listeners are probably going to have to keep replaying, because I feel like even when we were talking, I kept going back and thinking, but you mentioned this, and I want to talk more about this, and then more about this. So there was so much value in listening to your story, and it's so inspiring. So thank you so much.
And thank you, Sue. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share that with everyone.
You're very welcome.
So,
all the very best. Thank you.